What is your NSFW fun fact about yourself? I don't know if this is NSFW, but when I was born my penis was so crooked they had to completely rearrange it in surgery. They said that, if it was left as it was my dick would point at a 60 or so degree angle to the left, and that urinating would have been quite the task. Sigh. I feel like this is the only reason my throwaway ever comes out, but I came while getting the scalp massage at the barber's. I accidentally started giving another guy a handjob once. Edit. Okay, story time. The guy was brain injured. I was working at a long-term brain trauma rehab facility, and one of my patients, we called them clients, was a guy that had incontinence issues. He wore adult diapers, but at night we would also put on a condom catheter, which was basically a condom connected to small hose that ran into a little pouch on the side of his bed. So every night we had to roll the condom onto him. One night, I rolled the condom on, but it rolled right back up. So I rolled it down again, and again, it rolled back up. This process went on a few times, until I noticed that he was getting an erection. Now, me being an idiot, my first thought was that will make this easier, until I realized that I was basically giving a handjob to a brain-injured guy in a diaper. I just looked up at him kind of surprised, and he was laughing his ass off. He goes, "Hey, that feels pretty good," in a tone where I knew he was giving me shit. So yeah, accidental handy. I use my right hand for everything, except for masturbating. I just can't with my right hand. At the height of experiencing prolonged concussion symptoms, I masturbated and felt a jolt, like a shock of electricity, travel up my body to the part of my brain where a light fixture fell on my head. My symptoms instantly subsided. I have breast implants from having breast cancer. They get cold, and it's built in air conditioning. I don't have a gag reflex, which hasn't been great the few times I've actually choked in something. An ant bit my testicles once while I was having sex at a hiking trail. In case anyone is wondering, it was awful. The first time I fingered a girl was during midnight mass on Christmas Eve in a Catholic church. My dad was having sex with a hospital nurse while my mom was giving birth to me. That's long been used for the many fights and reasons my mom hates men. I got circumcised at 25 after slicing my foreskin, and a vasectomy at 30. My Frank and Beans hate me. If I get high enough I can induce spontaneous prostate orgasms through abdominal breathing exercises. I've had my foot in a pussy due to an error in the hospital system that happened when I was born. My last name is technically Coomer. I once spied on someone jerking off in the nearby stall at a mall toilet room. That was an experience, but I really don't want to repeat it. I can Jedi mind trick myself to come with no physical contact. It bends to the right. On an average day, I will spend 60-70% of my time thinking about how hot my wife is. Mentally/physically/emotionally. The entire being that is my wife is just so sexually appealing to me. We've been together 10 years, and have one child. And she's still the exact same amazingly hot woman I first met. And, cue the line of people saying they think about her too. Go. Long time ago. I was working late one night, all by myself, small company. I reached behind an open server, and touched the power supply by accident, while it was still plugged in, and had a very shocking experience. I had to lie down on the floor for about 20 minutes before regaining my strength to get back up, and go home. Never did that again. I changed a light bulb on my office while standing on a wheelchair, and almost fell. I have actually been jerking off to cartoons when I was like a small kid without even realizing it. Boy was I in for a realization like a decade later. I used to fantasize about women before I knew I was bi, and before I knew what sex was. I would fantasize about holding them down, and tickling them, and it made me feel good, but I didn't know why. clicked years later that I just like women lol. I have two assholes when flaccid. I can pull the head of my penis back inside of itself. I'm cut. I've honestly never asked anyone if they can do it, so it might just be a normal dick function. I can also pop both testicles back up inside myself. So if I do it all at once, I've got an empty sack dangling under an inside-out dick until I let go. I joined the Mile High Club about 15 years ago. TBH, outside of bragging rights it's not all that interesting. I was both a sexual and non-sexual sugar baby for 3 years to different successful men. I am naked underneath my clothes whenever I go pee. I just brush my pubes. My dick is average, you know. This is one of those AskReddits I see that I have no answer to that I like to scroll through to see how the answers range from "that's pretty vanilla" to "there is no way that's true." I've never had sex or even kissed anyone. I can name at least 3 straight guys who will claim to the ends of the earth they are straight, but have repeatedly shown interest and done very gay acts with me and other guys on the DL. Banged my college GF in public a few times. She got off on it, and being in my early 20s, I was horny and did not care. I was about 13 and came home from a Boy Scout camping trip to discover there was a tick on the underside of my dick shaft. Even though you learn about how to handle them in Boy Scouts, I nevertheless freaked out because there was a tick on my goddamn dick. I asked my dad for help, and he carefully used the match head trick to get rid of it. Cut to 20 plus years later, and my parents, a bunch of friends, a couple of parents of those friends, and I are at a pizza place playing trivia, nomming some czar, and drinking. My dad is a lightweight, and got pretty drunk. No idea how he got to the topic, but he's telling another parent that I was well endowed. The table was quiet when he said this, so all 10 plus people heard. I can only recall the tick dick debacle as the sole point where he ever would have seen anything. It was fucking embarrassing. I should have just left the tick alone and died in peace with my penis parasite. I've had sex more often in groups than one-on-one. One time I jacked off 7 times in one day. Once I banged a Russian chick on the balcony of a hotel room. I failed NNN, may or may not have banged a hooker over the railing of a balcony above an ongoing wedding. I have a noticeable birthmark on the shaft of my penis. It's a large spot on top that has aligned the whole way around. I even won a contest with it once as a teenager because it was unique and more impressive than a bare bland one. My username works. My dick is short. I know the spelling to Newman ultramicroscopic silicovolcanoconiosis and pseudo-hyperparathyroidism. And can pronounce it in one go, but only if I'm really sober. Once I broke a bed by fucking too hard after my ex dumped me. I decided to try to get over her by getting under someone. She dumped me while I was working down south, over text no less. I saw it coming for a while, so it wasn't much of a shock to me, but it still hurt as we'd been going out for over a year, and I was quite invested. Now, I don't condone sleeping around, I'm not keen on that whole thing. Unfortunately this is my one and only hiccup, and doing exactly that. I installed Tinder and matched with a few girls, like 3, we're talking, and I asked 2 of them to a drink, not at the same time. Bear in mind I'm not a prize catch, matching so quickly already kinda made me feel better in myself. I was new to the area, so I didn't know any decent pubs, but the first girl, let's call her Becksy, recommended a place. We're drinking. She's a little nervous, but nonetheless we're having a good time. We start snogging in this pub, and when it's closing time, she invites me back to hers. I agree. Now, Becksy warned me that her mum owns a B&B, and she lives in one of the rooms, and there will be other guests there, so we can't be too loud or rough. I misheard her, and thought she said there would be no one in, and we can be as rough and loud as we like. Now, when a girl says to me she likes it rough, I don't have a damn clue what they mean, so I just have a go everything I have in hope that I tick some form of box. That bed is shaking to fuck, we're banging against that wall, and making hella noise. I'm pretty proud. Then in the morning I'm woken up by her mum angrily banging on her bedroom door, and her little dog, that I had no idea watched me in action, now sat on her bed, and staring at me. I duck out, walk back to where I was staying, and freshen up for work. That evening I met with the other girl, let's call her Sarah. Now, after my little escapade the night before, I'm feeling pretty proud in myself, and a bit of a player. I tell myself that, if anything happens that night, I'm gonna go all at it again, and have another good sesh. So we're drinking, she comes back to mine, I basically get 3 pumps in, and I come. Only a handful of friends know this story, and whenever I say about not liking sleeping around, and waiting for the right one, they freely throw this back at me.